Congress, that's China's legislature. And then the chairperson of the Central Military Commission of the People's Republic of China. And these MPC deputies will also vote on a draft resolution on restructuring state council institutions. They have been deliberating all those choices over the past week, and now is the time to cast their votes. As we've been saying, it is an election morning for China's 2 sessions. We will keep you posted on the results. But during the 2 sessions this year, President Xi Jinping himself has talked to many members of both the CPPCC Central Committee and the NPC that taking part in the deliberation of the NPC delegates and the NPC meetings. They also met with delegates from the military. He listened to their suggestions and ideas, and he gave his own thoughts on how to address their concerns. Here are some of his words.
既要下决心消除绝对贫困，又不能把胃口吊得太高，使大家期望值太高，力不从心，小马拉大车，你拉不动，你拉不动的结果是好心没办成好事儿。 创新太重要了。中国如果不走创新驱动的道路，新旧动能不能够顺利转换，转换是一个坎儿。如果不能顺利转换，我们也不可能真正的强大起来。强起来就是靠创新，创新又靠人才。共产党就是追求人民的幸福生活。 什么地方人民感觉到不幸福、不快乐、不满意，我们就在哪方面下功夫，还有简单。
谢谢，人民爱戴您。
既要做那些显技的工作，也要做那些潜技的工作。 既要做那些立竿见影的工作，也要做那些为后人做铺垫的打基础的工作。在这个方面呢，就不计较个人的功名功成名就，这个意思。我们追求的一个是人民群众的好口碑，一个是日后历史沉淀之后的。 那个真正的评价。如果它的社会中一个大厦是需要这个4梁8柱和这个基础党它是贯穿在这里边的一个总的骨架。这个上面有党中央。 我们说这个顶梁柱，但是我们还有一个非常重要的，就是我们的基础。基础呢，那就是在我们这个各个基层党组，基础不牢，地动山摇。现在你们的工作就是这上面牵条线，下面一根针的所以我们的工作必须是夯实基层这个要有千千万万的。 基层的这种骨干，结合实际的，去做各种工作。 部队还是要练。你如果不采取真正的实战化的练兵，不加强这种练兵的这种力度，那你无法消除和平敌。当然，现在它是要与时俱进的，说时刻准备着真戈待旦，弘扬我军的这个优良传统。就是我们讲的，仗怎么打，就怎么练，从上到下都怎么练，是吧？士兵怎么练，各军兵种怎么练，啊，指挥官怎么练，对我们强军有好处。谁是最可爱的人？不要让英雄啊，既流血又流泪啊，让军人呢受到尊崇啊，这是最基本的，这个要保障。士官太重要了，一个我们这个士官的这个水平啊，要提高，再有士官的他那种稳定性。现在这个我到部队去看呢，就是说啊，想当一个合格的士兵啊，也不容易的，基层的指挥员也是不容易的，啊，士官是他中间的一个非常基础的骨干。这个队伍啊，稳定性还是很重要的。全国两会前呢，中央召开了19届中央军民融合委员会的第1次全体会议。这一次会议呢，通过了军民融合发展纲要，还有2018年的工作要点。
That's what President Xi has said during the 2 sessions. And this morning, the NPC are about to elect the new leaders of this country, including President, Vice President, the top legislator, and the chair of the Central Military Commission of the People's Republic of China. We will keep you updated on the latest results from the NPC session. Let's come back to our studio discussions here in Beijing. There are a lot of people talking about the vision of the Chinese leaders because it is important. The NPC is basically to put those visions into legislation or resolutions. So, Mr. Jing, of all the items on Mr. Xi's agenda, the reform of the government, the reform of its economic structure, environmental protection, poverty alleviation, what do you think is the most urgent, and how do you think the state leaders can deliver on those promises?
Actually, we had many important items on the agenda of the top leaders. It was issued and promulgated by the 19th Congress of the CPC. I believe that the National People's Congress and the State Council and other state organs will implement those policies. And the current session of the NPC is to make some of those important policies into law. And we are now electing the new leaders to implement those policies. So in my view, there is a very solid foundation to realize and fulfill those plans.
But do you think there is one thing that comes on the top when the state leaders came to office? Because there are obviously many agendas on the table.
Economic development, I think, is still the most important thing, and that will help resolve some other problems, social problems. Yeah.
And Edward?
Yeah, no, it's the economy first and foremost. Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I believe that this whole thing is orchestrated like that, but it's more ambitious than just saying something as simple as the economy, meaning that it's almost like when John F. Kennedy said in 1961, we will go to the moon and back by the end of this decade. Very ambitious when the power in your cell phone was enough to bring them to the moon at that point in time as far as computing power that they had. And this is a little bit like what Xi Jinping is doing now. It is very hard for us to go back in time and imagine what it was like in 1982 when Deng Xiaoping had that constitution. 30,000 people were living in Shenzhen. This is a big and broad vision. These are tough things. It's easy to be negative. Einstein said imagination is worth more than knowledge. And I think what we've seen with Xi Jinping's era in New Thought in words is that he's got the imagination to be a world beater, and that's what he's saying, that the Chinese people, it's more than they've stood up. They're going to now, 100 million people are on the move every single year, that they're going to make an impact. And then the question is, how do we get there? And there's plenty of people that are going to be negative about that and try to pull this issue down. But what he's actually done, which is really difficult, is he's given a framework. And it's hard for us to see that now, but he's given a framework so that we can get to that destination.
You mentioned the framework because this country's economy is growing fast and large. That's why people are becoming suspicious whether China can continue the momentum of economic growth. So if to keep the momentum, what should happen to the economy structurally and qualitatively?
Okay, so, and I think what he's done is he's looked at that with the One Belt, One Road for an example, but he wants to make it a win-win proposition. This isn't the Marshall Plan reworking. This is actually trying to embrace and actually bring all of these nations along forward and then help China at the same time. It's ambitious and it's world beating, and then he's going to say we're going to have to put aside this being just a labor market where we're going to be the factory of the world. We actually have to be made in China, be proud of China. The intellectual property is going to have to be protected, and intellectual property and entrepreneurism. We have young people coming out of university that have to think like entrepreneurs, and I think that that's the message with Xi Jinping thought. And you can't just, it's not, the problems that were caused in the past cannot be solved by the education and the thought process that we have today. And so that's what he's saying essentially, like Einstein did, we have to use new ideas and new technology to get us there. And so I think with solidifying like the intellectual property and the market supervision, it's going to be able to increase economics and make it more cutting edge, and that's what he's looking to do.
And Mr. Jing, you agree with Edward that being innovative and entrepreneurial is what China needs to upgrade its economy further down the road?
Yeah, I agree, and actually the Chinese government has done a lot in that regard to encourage and support innovation and entrepreneurship. More emphasis will be given to the quality of the economy, how to improve the quality when the speed slows down. I think the innovation of technology is the most important factor to upgrade our industries and to transform the structures so that we have a better business environment to develop.
But the thing is that many people arguing Chinese economy is still very much state-led. That's why there is an efficiency problem, and there is the problem of incentives to innovate. Do you think China can deliver on the reforms as promised to its state-owned sector and encourage private business to be more innovative and risk-taking?
Yeah, I think so, that the Chinese party and government has taken various measures, say, to encourage the private investment and enterprises to develop, and to have the government less control of the economy, so that the market force will have a bigger role. In this regard, I think the government has done a lot, including to reduce the expenses and fees, costs, and taxes for the small and medium enterprises, and to give to the high and new technologies. I think this, and also to encourage Chinese companies to make investment overseas, to use the overseas market and resources, and to work with the international companies. So we have a lot of advantages in continue the economic development.
But still, people are saying maybe it's still too little too late, because people are expecting much more changes to the state-owned sector, because obviously the state is still keeping control of its state-owned enterprises, and that's why it hasn't been moving along as people expected.
Right, and I mean, here's
and
the
more centralized power seems to be a good thing for China to make big changes in that area.
Well, it does. I mean, in as much as it's like you don't change horses crossing the midstream, and as a result, I mean, you've got to be able to keep some continuity. But at the same time, if you look at the actual practical changes, so you got Ma Hua-tung from Tencent in the National People's Congress, you got Robin Lee in the CCP-CC, you've got William Ding, you've got Richard Liu Chendong. You have people that are actually making innovative changes. What's happening in Xiong'an, for example, they've got Tencent that's actually going there and going to participate in the process. So I don't think we want to keep kind of harping on the state-owned enterprises necessarily. I think that there's what's happening is a lot of innovation. You take a look at WeChat and the juggernaut that is with 900 million people, which has really taken off on its own, and it's become, there's integration with the paying system in some international sectors in different countries, and there seems to be some.
So you're saying the non-public sector will take the lead in that?
Well, I see that. I mean, I see it with Alibaba. I see it with a lot of different companies that are getting international and that are actually helping out other economies to be able to go direct with and grow and do their business as well.
And you mentioned Xiong'an. Xiong'an is actually a big social experiment. The Xiong'an new area was established just in April 2017. It is actually a new economic zone in Hebei province, north of the capital in Beijing, about 100 kilometers to be exact, southwest of Beijing. Well, the new area sits at the center of the triangle made by big cities, Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei's capital, Shijiazhuang. Well, this is the third such new area in China. Others include the Shenzhen, a special economic zone in the south, and the Shanghai Pudong new area in the eastern coast. It is designed to integrate Beijing with the surrounding areas. According to the framework plan, more domestic and foreign talents will be invited to join in the creation and development of Xiong'an, formulating investment, finance, tax, and land policies that are totally new to do that. And it has been nearly a year since the announcement of the Xiong'an new area, that is a city to be built from scratch. That happened. What will this new city be looking like? And how will this unprecedented development plan change people's lives in northern China? Our reporter Ning Hong went to Xiong'an to find out.
A city comes alive because its residents. Che Chengguo moved to Xiong'an new area after the big announcement in April of last year. He's hoping to start a business here and eventually settle down. He opened his store and is full of confidence for the future of Xiong'an.
I told my family this is my home now. I missed Shenzhen and Pudong, but not Xiong'an, because I believe the central government and President Xi will make Xiong'an a great place.
That's also the work of city planners, who are very busy these days, solving the many riddles of putting together a new metropolis.
The Xiong'an new area will not allow massive property development and will also harbor non-core functions of Beijing. Most importantly, however, is that Xiong'an will create a positive environment for innovation and entrepreneurship.
The non-core functions of the capital will include wholesale markets, education, research institutes, logistics, and healthcare. So far, the first group of 48 companies has gained access to the new city. This year is the 40th anniversary of China's reform and opening up. Following places like the city of Shenzhen and Shanghai Pudong area, Xiong'an is expected to provide a new example of city development.
It will follow a very high standard called Xiong'an quality.
The first step has already been taken. In Xiong'an's startup area, the first building complex, the Citizen Service Center, is rising from the ground.
Environmental protection, low carbon footprint, energy efficiency, and smart construction techniques will be the mainstays of construction in Xiong'an.
Modules produced in factories are assembled here, setting standards and building experience for the future city.
As the first group of settlers in the city, I hope while we participate in building the city, we witness its glory days. When we get old, I hope we can enjoy due respect, a sense of achievement, and belonging here.
Along with the draft of the overall plan, major projects are already underway, including an intercity high-speed railway connecting Beijing and Xiong'an, massive forestation work, and the restoration of Baiyangdian Lake. Xiong'an will become a reflection of innovation, coordination, green, openness, and sharing, the 5 major development concepts in China. Ning Hong, CGTN, Xiong'an New Area.
So let's talk a little bit about the Xiong'an New Area. This is a bold plan, and it's also a different plan because it will build a city from ground up, but in a different way. So, Mr. Jing, first of all, what do you make of the scale and also the intent of this plan?
The basic route, I think, is about the allocation of resources. As we live in Beijing, we know that too crowded here because of too much enterprise, too many enterprises, too many people here, population. So that is because the capital is the center of resources. So
of every resources.
Yeah. So every every person and every enterprise outside of Beijing would like to come and to find the chance of development. So the problem arises. The plan of establishing the Xiong'an area is to allocate the resources from Beijing and Tianjin to the Hebei area and to have a new development road other than the Pudong and Shenzhen. It aims at the new economic and scientific center, innovation center in North China. But it's still in the very early stage. It's still in the planning and the design stage. I believe that is very important because scientific planning and design and the layout of the city is the foundation for rapid development later on. It will solve many problems we face now in Beijing and other big cities.
Edward, people are concerned about this because it will be an artificial design of a city.
Yeah.
That's why people say, will it work? Because naturally cities develop on their own.
Right, exactly. But yeah, and I understand the trepidation with regards to that, but what they've done is trying to take new technology and the sharing technology where everything's going to be within 15 minutes or 10 minutes. And this is part of the problem that we have in Beijing. The central business district is Chaoyang, which is huge and as large as some cities in the United States. This is actually going to be a bunch of ecological friendly areas, and then you're going to be able to have sort of city centers within the city and green spaces within the city and kind of a walking environment. So it's well thought out. I mean, hopefully it will achieve those things, but they've got the best designers and technology and thought processes, and they're building the shining city on the hill. One of the things that we talked about before we went on camera was the idea that it's not going to be real estate driven, and so you're not going to necessarily, which is a positive thing, I think, because you're not going to have.
You think it is all positive? People worry, where will the financial revenue come from if they don't depend on real estate?
Right, and I think what they're going to see is they're going to have people in the sharing economy, young people who understand this, and they're going to they'll own real estate and assets elsewhere, and they will be able to live and work there in the new economy and have high tech and innovation and jobs there. And so the rent hopefully will be low, and you won't have these ghost cities. So what you do is you have ghost cities which are created by speculation.
So earlier you mentioned many companies, including Alibaba, Tencent, already moving there.
Right.
What will be the business incentives for them to send people and also plants and businesses down there?
Well, they're a bit like Google and whatever's happening in Silicon Valley, which is a complete disaster. I mean, there's no room, no space. They will create these campuses, almost like universities. And what they're going to do is it's going to be, the Matthew effect, what we call in science, which is they're going to get richer with regards to sharing ideas and notions, and this is going to be the place where people are going to be able to be employed in new technology, in the sharing technology, in blockchain, in all these types of things that are going to change the world. And so that's the incentive. And then it's also going to be pleasant to actually live there. And right now, many people have to travel 1 hour to work or more, and they'll be able to do it within 15 minutes and be at a campus and be able to share innovation. And I think that's going to be the incentive. I know it's hard for us to believe today, but that's with young people coming out of university, it's going to be a different thing.
And Mr. Jing, you think that Xiong'an will be a high-tech, industry-intensive area? Will a little bit like Silicon Valley, something? What's going to be the major industries, or should I say, businesses there?
At this point, the government encourages the high-tech companies in Zhongguancun area and some other e-commerce and internet companies to move or to allocate some of their business there.
So it will be a Silicon Valley in a way.
I think that was the intention, or what the purpose of developing economy there, because Xiong'an does not have rich natural resources and minerals.
And we won't want to develop those resources anyway.
That's why.
But also education.
We emphasis on that. So some of the economic factors, I mean the SOEs, and especially those directly owned by the government, the central government, will move there, probably the headquarters and their main business there, to let the capital become the center of politics and international exchange. So, I mean, economic sectors of Beijing, most or some of them will move to that area to help development of the area.
So the bulk of the economic function will move to Xiong'an. Is that what is the plan?
Not the whole of the the economic sector, but most of them, I believe, will, or some of them will move to that area.
And that's why people are asking questions, because people choose to live in Beijing for a reason, because there are many resources, education, medical care, elderly care, anything. Sure. But Xiong'an, at least now, they don't seem to have anything yet.
Right, but to a certain extent, what was talked about with Mr. Jin is that the people that are working at state-owned enterprises and some governmental functions as well are going to be moved out there. But one of the other things is the education is supposed to be, they're going to be having branches of different educational institutions that are high level, and then this is going to be one of the driving forces for people.
But that will take time for education institutions to take place and evolve.
Right, but I mean, maybe in the primary and in secondary schools, I mean, these types of things where people are trying to get to certain geographic areas within Beijing, they're supposedly going to be making those available in Xiong'an there, and so that would be a better place and a better place for kids to be raised as well, have the work there and education there as well. That's the discussion.
So it will probably make sense for us to be patient about the progress in Xiong'an.
Yeah.
As Mr. Xi himself said, this is not a project probably for centuries, probably for millennia. That means it's going to be long term.
Yeah.
And down the road, what do you think is the major task if there's anything happen that will make a difference in the coming 10 years, the tenure of President Xi? In Xiong'an, I mean, what is the major priority job for the urban planners and builders?
Infrastructure construction is the basis for the development and for people's communication. So I think that in the first stage, like the high-speed railway between Beijing and Xiong'an will be built, and also the infrastructure, the public facilities in the area will be built. including the apartments and houses for the people to work there, will be built. That was the basic conditions to develop and live were in the priority, in my view.
And another important topic I want to talk about is the Belton Road.
Right.
That has international reach and
does.
also a big part of President Xi's vision. But the Belton Road is a connectivity program in the first place.
Right.
But it incorporates many parts, trade facilitation, infrastructure building, and policy coordination. What do you think will be the major challenges? Because already China has accomplished several projects, but some industrial countries still have doubts about what is the intent of this initiative.
They do. I mean, and, you know, it's easier to go and move things by ship right now. And this is a very ambitious, it's almost like landing on the moon kind of project, moving it by across land. So it's more expensive right now to do that. And what the dream is to make it as less expensive or same expense as going by ship.
Because people can't think the same, because people think differently.
You're dealing with all the stands. You're dealing. I mean, meaning those Kazakhstan and Pakistan. So you've got the the corridor with the Pakistan-China economic corridor. You've got a lot of political turmoil. We can barely, as in China, get everything
and
together.
strategic reading.
Right.
For example, India, Russia, Western Europe. They have their own strategic reading about this.
That's right, and I mean they're thinking that it's just a pass-through, or that Chinese are here to only employ Chinese. I mean, so these things are met with a lot of stasis or criticism or even pushback when they're actually trying to help, and it's very difficult to say I want to help you if they don't want to be helped. And so this is ambitious because it's beyond China's borders. But what they fueled it with was the AIIB, which is the Asian International Infrastructure Bank, and that's going to be able, and this has been a buy-in by a lot of countries in the world. I think the only two that haven't participated are the United States and Japan, right? And so I think that this is kind of going to fuel this movement forward, and it will also put some leverage on these areas that need development and that are largely without opportunity right now, and this is going to be an opportunity for them. So, everyone can push back and say there's a negative thing, but at least he has the ambition and the vision.
You think at last they will be convinced of the goodwill of this initiative and finally come on board?
Oh, I do.
Wholeheartedly?
Well, not wholeheartedly. I mean, I think there's always going to be elements. It's going to be this tension between those that want to pull down a good idea and these iconoclasts, and then those that want to go forward. Do I think it will be successful? Yes, I do, because I think that it makes just plain economic sense, and it's going to be helpful to connect the world.
Okay, and this is the live picture from the NPC. The NPC delegates have cast their votes. We're probably going to hear the results very soon.
各位代表，
Dear deputies,
现在继续开会。
now the meeting resumes.
根据总监票人的报告，
According to report from the chief
计票结
scrutineer,
果已
all
统
the
计完
votes
毕。
have been counted.
现在
Now
由工作人
the
员
staff
宣读
will announce
选举
the
中华人民共和
voting
国主
result
席的
for the election of the
计票结果。
President of the People's Republic of China.
中华人民共和国主席选举票
The
计
election
票
result
结果
for the President of the People's Republic of China.
发出2970
We've
张，
issued
2970
2,970 ballots, and the effective votes are 2,970 votes.
赞成2970票。
2,970 votes are for the election of Comrade Xi Jinping as President of the People's Republic of China. I announce that
习近平同志
Comrade Xi Jinping
当选为
is elected
中华人民共和
President
国主席。
of the People's Republic of China. Now the staff will announce the voting result for the election of the chairman of the Central Military Commission of the People's Republic of China. For the election of the chairman of the Central Military Commission of the People's Republic of China, the election result, we have issued 2,970 ballot tickets, and we have found 2,970 effective ballot tickets. Comrade Xi Jinping, the ballots for Comrade Xi Jinping is 2,970. I announce that Comrade Xi Jinping has been elected Chairman of the Central Military Commission of the People's Republic of China. Now the staff will announce the voting result for the election of the chairman of the 13th NPC Standing Committee. For the election of the chairman of the 13th NPC Standing Committee, the election result, we have issued 2,970 ballot tickets, recovered 2,970 effective ballot tickets, and the candidate Li Zhanshu, the number for him, 2,970. I announce that Comrade Li Zhanshu is elected chairman of the Standing Committee of the 13th National People's Congress. Now the staff will announce the voting result for the election of the Vice President of the People's Republic of China. For the election of the Vice President of the People's Republic of China, the election result, we have issued 2,970 ballot tickets and have recovered 2,970 effective ballot tickets. The candidate, Comrade Wang Qishan, the number for his election, 2,969, 1 against. I announce that Comrade Wang Qishan is elected Vice President of the People's Republic of China. Now the staff will announce the voting result for the election of vice chairpersons of the 13th NPC Standing Committee and its Secretary General. For the election of vice chairpersons and Secretary General of the 13th NPC, the election result is as follows. For the candidate of vice chairpersons, we have issued 2,970 ballot tickets, recovered 2,970 tickets. The number of effective tickets is 2,970. Wang Chen, the number for him, 2,969. And one against. For Cao Jianming, the number of ballot tickets for him, 2,970. Zhang Chunxian, the number for him, 2,969, and one against. Shen Yueyue, the number for his election, 2,969, and one against. Ji Bingxuan, 2,974. Alekan Eminbach, 2,974. Wan Exiang, the number for his election, 2,970. Chen Zhu, the number for his election is 2,970. Wang Dongming, the number for his election is 2,969, and one against. Bai Ma Chilin, the number for him is 2,970. Ding Zhongli, 2,968 are for him, one against, and one abstention. For Hao Mingjin, 2,970. For Cai Dafeng, 2,969 are for him, one against. Wu Weihua, 2,970 are for his election. For candidate Yang Zhengwu as the Secretary General, we have distributed 2,970 tickets and recovered 2,970 effective ballot tickets. 2,970 ballot tickets are for him. Now I announce that Wang Chen, Cao Jianming, Zhang Chunxian, Shen Yueyue, Ji Bingxuan, Alekan Eminbach, Wan Exiang, Chen Zhu, Wang Dongming, Bai Ma Chilin, Ding Zhongli, Hao Mingjin, Cai Dafeng, Wu Weihua have been elected vice chairpersons of the 13th National People's Congress Standing Committee. Now I announce that Comrade Yang Zhengwu is elected Secretary General of the Standing Committee of the 13th National People's Congress. Dear deputies, all the agenda for this morning's plenum have been completed. After the plenum, the Presidium will issue a notice to release today's election results. According to the measures on taking oath of allegiance to the Constitution of the Presidium of the first session of the 13th National People's Congress, we are to hold a ceremony for taking oath of allegiance to the Constitution. Now, the ceremony for taking oath of allegiance to the Constitution of the first session of the 13th National People's Congress begins.
请全体起立。
Please stand up.
请礼宾护送中华人民共和国
Please
宪法入
escort
场。
the Constitution of the People's Republic of China to the meeting.
"奏唱中华人民共和国国歌。
Play the national anthem of the People's Republic of China.
现在请中华人民共和国主席、
Now,
中华人民共和国中央军事委员
President
会
of
主
the
席
People's
习近
Republic
平
of China
宣
and
誓。
Chairman of the Central Military Commission, Comrade Xi Jinping, will take the oath.
"请宣誓，
Please take the oath.
我宣誓，
I swear that
忠于中华人民
I
共
will
和
be
国宪
faithful
法，
to the Constitution of the People's Republic of China,
宪法权威，
defend its authority,
履行法定职责，
perform statutory duties and
忠于
responsibilities,
祖国，
be loyal to the
忠
country
于人民，
and the people,
恪尽职守，
be committed
廉洁奉公，
and honest
接受
when
人
performing
民监督，
duties, accept the people's supervision,
富强
and work hard
民主
to help build a
文明
great, modern,
和谐
socialist
美
country
丽的社
that
会
is
主义现代化强
prosperous,
国，
strong,
努力奋
democratic,
斗。
culturally advanced,
宣誓人
harmonious,
习近
and
平。
beautiful. Xi Jinping.
"请坐下。
Please be seated.
现在请中华人民共和国第13届全国人
Now,
民代表大
the
会
chairman
常务委
of
员
the
会委员
13th
长
NPC
栗战
Standing
书
Committee,
宣誓。
Comrade Li Zhanshu, will take his oath.
请宣誓。
Please take your oath.
我宣誓，
I
忠
swear
于
that
中华人民共和国
I will be
宪法，
faithful to the Constitution
宪法
of the
权威
People's Republic of China,
履行法定职责，
defend its authority,
忠于祖国，
perform statutory
忠于人
duties
民，
and
恪
responsibilities,
尽职守，
be loyal to
廉
the
洁
country
奉公，
and the people,
接受
be
人民
committed
监督，
and honest when performing
为建
duties,
设富强、
accept the people's
民主、
supervision,
文明、
and
和
work
谐
hard to
美
help
丽
build
的
a
社
great
会主义
modern
现代化
socialist
强国
country that is
努力奋斗
prosperous, strong,
宣
democratic,
誓人
culturally
立战书
advanced, harmonious, and beautiful. 立战书。
现在请中华人民共和国副主席
Now,
王岐山宣
Vice
誓。
President Wang Qishan of the People's Republic of China will take his oath.
请宣誓。
Please take your oath.
我宣誓，
I swear that
忠于中华人民共
I
和
will
国
be
宪法，
faithful to the Constitution of the
维护
People's
宪法
Republic
权
of
威，
China,
履
defend
行
its
法定职
authority,
责，
perform
忠于
statutory
祖国，
duties and
忠于人
responsibilities,
民，
be loyal to the
恪
country
尽
and the
职守，
people, be committed
廉洁
and
奉
honest
公，
when performing duties,
接受人
accept
民
the
监
people's
督，
supervision,
为建设
and
富
work
强、
hard to help
民
build
主、
a great modern
明
socialist
和谐
country
美丽的
that is
社会主
prosperous,
义现代
strong,
化强国，
democratic,
努力
culturally
奋斗。
advanced, harmonious,
宣誓
and
人
beautiful.
王岐山。
王岐山。
现在请中华人民共和国第13届全国人民代表大会常务委员会副委员长
Now,
王
Vice
晨、
Chairpersons of the
曹建明、
13th NPC Standing Committee,
张春贤、
王晨、曹建明、
沈月月、
张春贤、沈
吉炳
月月、
轩、
吉炳轩、
艾立庚、一鸣八海、
Alakan Amienberg、
万鄂湘、
万鄂湘、
陈竹、
陈竹、
王东明、
王东明、
白马赤林、
白马赤林、
丁仲礼、
丁仲礼、
郝明金、
郝明金、
蔡达峰、
蔡达峰、
武维华、
武维华
秘书长杨振
，and
武
Secretary
宣
General
誓，
杨振武 will take
由
their
王
oath.
晨领事。
Wang Chen will be the representative
请
for
宣誓人
taking
就
the
位。
oath. Please take your positions.
请宣誓。
Please take your oath.
我宣誓，
I swear that
忠于中华人民共和国
I will
宪
be
法，
faithful to the Constitution of the People's
维护
Republic of
宪法
China,
权威，
defend
履
its
行法
authority,
定职责，
perform statutory
忠于
duties
祖国，
and
忠于人民，
responsibilities, be loyal to the country and the
恪尽
people,
职守，廉洁奉公，
be committed and honest
接
when
受
performing
人民监
duties,
督，
accept the
为
people's
建设
supervision,
富强、民主、文明、
and
和
work
谐、
hard
美丽的
to
社会
help
主义
build
现代化强
a
国，
great
努力奋斗
modern。socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, harmonious, and beautiful. Wang Chen. Now the ceremony for taking oath of allegiance to the Constitution is over.
That's the NPC's session this morning. Just now, Mr. Xi Jinping was elected President of the People's Republic of China. Mr. Li Zhanshu was elected top legislator of the NPC. And also, Mr. Wang Qishan was elected Vice President of the People's Republic of China. And we just seen the oath-taking ceremony. This is the first time in the history of the People's Republic that the top leaders take oath of allegiance to the Constitution. Let's talk to our studio guests about what is happening at the NPC this morning. So this is a new leadership. President Xi Jinping was elected President of the People's Republic, and a new team, both for himself as Vice President Wang Qishan and the top legislators line up. So first of all, what do you make of this election result?
It's the expectation of the whole party and the people. I see that President Xi and some other leaders got the unanimous vote for nearly 2,000 deputies. This was rarely happened in the past. That shows that the deputies really support the new leadership with Xi Jinping as the president and the core. And it's the wills of all the people in China to show their strong support for the leaders, and it's a recognition of their achievements in the past 5 years.
And many people are saying that President Xi will have more consolidated power and have more mandate to deliver on his pledges and promises. What do you think might be the most difficult challenge for the new leadership?
To combine the highest authority of the Central Committee of the CPC, of the Central Military Commission, as well as the state, is very important for the unified and centralized leadership. With this authority, I think President Xi is in a position to push forward the various reforms to realize the modernization and the national rejuvenation. I think he is in the best position to realize the Chinese dream. And China now at its development stage is also at the closest point to fulfill that Chinese dream. I think this new team will lead the Chinese people of various ethnic groups to fulfill these tasks.
And Edward, how do you look at the political development here in China?
No, I think it's great, and I think the thing to focus on, which was the pomp and the circumstance and the ceremony of the swearing in. I mean, we can talk about votes, we can talk about numbers. That sort of thing maybe hasn't changed dramatically over the years, but what we saw was this military parade that brought in the Constitution and then the swearing of the Constitution.
You're interested in this,
the
protocols and
well, I am because but I think that's what President Xi is trying to show to people, that they're pledging allegiance to the Constitution. And I'll tell you why I think it's important is because the Magna Carta, which is probably the first Constitution, then you have the United States Constitution, 1789. That's where all laws stem from. So it comes from, in the Magna Carta, the case, the king is saying, I'm going to make this a more democratic, a more equitable situation, and I'm going to let people participate in the decision-making process. In the United States, 1789, break away from England, Constitution, the founding of our laws. And now what we're seeing today in the pomp and ceremony of it, and it doesn't seem like much, is we're making this a rule of law country, and we're going to find a way forward to do that. And so they're dramatically making this statement, and look at those kind of statements. That's really what I see as important today. It was significant, and it's a message for 1/5 of humanity, but the entire world, that this is going to become a country of a rule of law.
What is your reading, Mr. Jing? The oath-taking ceremony, which is new in our system.
Yeah, it's first time for the top state leaders to make constitutional oath. It's very give the impression very solemn, and in my view, it's very beneficial and conducive to uphold the highest status of Constitution. That means
so it's not just a ceremonial; it signifies a message, putting the Constitution in a very paramount place.
Sure. Because Constitution has the highest authority, it's the fundamental of all laws. So the state leaders expressed their wills to abide by the Constitution and to perform their powers and duties on the Constitution is very helpful to perform and implement the Constitution and the rule of law. And that's the most important driving force and a safeguard for China's long-term development.
But we'll also see like a segue into an opportunity under the Constitution where you can now sue on behalf of the environment. You can sue, and have litigation. And so that stems from the Constitution. So I think people are afraid, oh, we're consolidating power. No, but at the same time, like the Magna Carta, like the U.S. Constitution, we have the right, or agencies have the right, to sue other agencies or people who are not trying to follow these policies. So it's a court-driven kind of a thing, and we're seeing that happening right now. So a rollout of that.
That's what the rule of law is all about. Yeah. Thank you very much. And now let's take a look at what kind of a leader the new Chinese leader, President Xi Jinping himself, has been experiencing throughout his life. Here's a profile.
Primitive-looking caves and the surrounding soft dirt mountains tell just part of the story of the hard life that gave Xi Jinping his foundation for the future.
I could tell he was different. He was nice to people.
Nearly a half a century ago, Liu Jinlian arrived in Liangjia as a sent-down youth. It was only a couple of months after Xi Jinping had arrived.
He was not afraid to lead as a young man. He knew how to plan, and he could endure suffering and hardships.
Xi and the others here endured a simple but harsh life, working in fields, scratching out a life in the region's unforgiving environment. Liu never left and still lives in a small cave and greets visitors, selling books, some food, shoes, and other small items from a different cave fashioned into a tiny store.
When he came, he brought a whole suitcase packed with books.
The books freed his mind, and today some of the books remain on display in one of the 3 caves in which Xi lived.
When President Xi came here, he was a skinny teenager, an outcast, banned, his family shamed. But Xi grew and developed here and won the respect of the people.
Today, thousands come to see the humble and harsh lifestyle that helped shape China's president, and visitors get a better understanding of Xi's fervent fight against poverty. It's also where Xi developed his touch with the common people.
Our tour guide just told us that people from well-off families could hardly bear the rough time, but Xi made it. As the Chinese saying goes, the harder you work, the better you will get.
I was deeply impressed after coming here. As you can see, these old generation revolutionists had fought for decades in tough circumstances to turn China from a poor country into a world power.
As much as anything, people are lured here to show their commitment to China's political future. Xi Chengyang followed Xi as party secretary here decades ago.
He speaks and acts realistically and practically. He's very composed, which means he only speaks after thorough consideration.
There are Xi slogans and Xi photos. People learn how Xi helped build a dam, dig a well, and develop methane for communal use. It's a tourist site that continues to blossom. Liu Jinlian shows off a cherished photo of a recent visit when Liu tried to give her old friend a pair of shoes. But President Xi insisted he pay.
He knew how to plan and was committed to do a good job on whatever he planned.
A trait Liu says that Xi still has today.
And that's a place Mr. Xi spent almost 6 years as a starting point for his political career. And that will do it for this special broadcast on the NPC session. And we have just seen the election of China's top leaders. Thank you very much, Mr. Jing, and thank you, Mr. Lehman. You've been watching CGTN. We'll keep you posted on the latest. Goodbye for now.